Today on Law Weekly, we discuss the Special Crimes Court Bill and the need to fast-track its passage. We talk to a senior legal practitioner, Tope Adebayo. We also have some of the highlights from the launch of the Shashegbon's Judicial Dictionary of Nigerian Law, plus our weekly recap of the top trending stories from the courtrooms. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Shola Shuyeli. On the 19th of November, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Commission, ICPC, organized a national summit on diminishing corruption in the public service. President Muhammadu Buhari, who attended the event, called on the National Assembly to fast-track the passage of the Special Crimes Court Bill. The president also urged the judiciary to embrace and support the creation of special crimes courts in the country. But do we really need these courts, and why? My guest professed some answers. Tope Adebayo has vast experience in dispute resolution, specialized transaction, and corporate and commercial practice. He has handled many cases at the Superior Court of Records in the country. In this interview, I began by getting his views on the Special Crimes Court Bill and whether there's really a need for such courts.
We need to pay more than lip service to the issue of curbing corruption in Nigeria. And how do we do that? We all know that it is in the judiciary that the citizens feel the keen cutting edge of the law. If they have respect for the work of the court, their respect for law and order will survive shortcomings of the two other arms of government. But if they lose respect for the work of the court, their respect for law and order will vanish, to the grave detriment of society. To this end, it is in order for the president to call for a special crime court, because this is the court that will ensure that we have experts, those who are really interested in criminal justice. Judges that are really interested in criminal law, criminal justice. They will be the people that will man the courts that will be set up pursuant to this law. And if all you do as a judge, day in, day out, is to entertain only corruption-related cases, you do not have any excuse not to be harmed with all the statutes relevant to that subject matter. You do not have any excuse not to be harmed with cases that are relevant to that subject matter. You do not have any excuse not to be harmed with procedures relevant to that subject matter. And once you are harmed with relevant cases, you are harmed with relevant statutes, and you are harmed with relevant procedure, it is difficult for any lawyer, no matter how highly placed, to come to your court to bamboozle a junior. Because the problem of our society is that those who are unable to afford good lawyers, sometimes end up suffering injustice. Not because their cases are bad, but because they do not have, lawyers who are adept in the subject matter to be able to advance their case before the judges. And once the judges also are not so good, in the subject matter submitted to their court for determination, you are going to have bad judgment. And people keep complaining, oh, corruption in judiciary. No, what people call corruption, in most cases, or more often than not, are result of ignorance. On the part of the judges, or limitations, on the part of the judges. Because you can only dispense justice, in the subject matter you fully understand. Today you are handling land matter, tomorrow they put you to criminal matter, then it won't work that way. So if the plan of the executive to have a special crime court, can be implemented, and then those that will also administer the plan, one thing is for you to pass a law, the other thing is for you to have those who are dedicated to the spirit and the letter of the law to actually implement the law. And in implementing the law, if we have, the head of court that will say, I'm not going to appoint my friend or my brother or my sister to the special crime court. I'm going to look for those who are interested in this special crime, those who have the competence, who have the requisite competence, not commercial lawyers. For example, those who have been in banks or who have been practicing commercial law all their life, you don't put them in that kind of court. but we need lawyers who are very, good in criminal justice. They want to, their life is all about criminal justice, the procedure relating thereto, and everything in that corridor. Those are the kind of lawyers that will be necessary. There will be lawyers from that end, and then judges that have that background. There will also be judges that have background in commercial crime, especially the one of international dimension. So when anybody comes to you, any lawyers appears before you as a judge of the special court, before he even mentions a case, you already know what he wants to talk about. So it's difficult for the other side to be disadvantaged because a lawyer who is standing before the judge is very good, and the judge himself does not even know what the lawyer is talking about.
You talked about corruption in the judiciary and how some of the cases that people think that were obtained corruptly were actually as a result of the limitations of the judges, or maybe even ignorance when they're overwhelmed with the submissions of big counsels before them. But when we narrow down to specific judges for this courts, for this special crimes court, and those judges are known, won't that further aid corruption?
In fact, it's even better. It's better to know those, it's better to narrow down. It's going to be helpful for the security architecture of the country. The only reason you talk about corruption being unending is because our systems are not enabled. If we have a system that works, what is the work of DSS? What is their work? To collect information. So if we have, judges, let's say there are like 50 in the entire country, and you have about 2 or 3 or 4 in each state, then you have the DSS there. They know that these guys are the one handling the sensitive cases that can either lift this country up or bring this country down. So they are on their trail, every time to be sure that they are upholding the highest, ethical standards.
One of the things you also talked about is the mode of appointment of judges. What do you think is the ideal mode of appointment of judges for this special crimes court?
Well, I think the ideal thing will be that the statute should actually stipulate the qualification of those that should be appointed into that court. It shouldn't be left, to the whims and caprices of those, running our judicial system for now. It should be delimited by the statute. The statute should actually state, for you to be entitled, to sit on the bench in any special court. You must have A, B, C, or D, qualifications. And then, special court, crime is big. So even within that, there will be people that are specialists of specialists. There will be there will be specializations also within special court. So when maybe the CJ or whoever is administering that court, when maybe a charge is filed, you will have to look at the nature of the charge and know which of the judges, will be best suited to handle such cases.
Now, we complain that we don't have enough judges to man our courts. When you talk to lawyers, you hear that when you get to the Supreme Court and the appeal courts, cases, the waiting period now is about 2-3 years or even more. Is it from this same system that we're going to appoint judges for this special crimes courts?
We'll stay in our hotel. The judge will tell us, come by 2 p.m. And our partners abroad say, the matter is coming up by 2. When you get to the court, you won't meet a single soul. Because some lawyers will have come by 9, they will end their case by 10, they leave by 10. But here, you wake up in Ikeja to go to a court on the highland. You wake up very early by 7 a.m. Your matter may not be called until 3:30. The question, why can't they schedule? So we still have a lot of drawbacks. But I totally support those that are clamoring for appointment of more judges to our bench. And then the idea of Supreme Court. We have only one Supreme Court. We are appeals from almost, from more than 20-something court of appeal. go? Do we want to kill them? You know, we have to also find a way to limit interlocutory applications, you know, going to Supreme Court, interlocutory appeals. We must find a way to limit it, number one. Then number two, we must decentralize the Supreme Court. We must find a way to decentralize it and have like maybe 6 in each geopolitical zone so that all cases don't go to Abuja. It doesn't make sense.
Talking about appointment of judges, in the past we toyed with the idea of getting senior lawyers on the bench, especially senior lawyers who are subject matter experts in their own right. Do you think that we need to go back and take another look at that suggestion?
The pattern from get-go is judges go to Court of Appeal and Supreme Court via promotion. So for them, they can't wrap their head around somebody who has been enjoying from on this side of the, you know, of legal practice, just jumping from there. So for me, the executive, we have to stand there. You know, we have to, you know.
But is there any merit still that the senior lawyers that are coming in should jump?
A lot.
Maybe they should just be at the Federal High Court level.
No, there is merit. Just some people they are authority in their own right. You need their brain to help you. You know, we can't make progress if we keep pushing our best away from getting involved in what will uplift our nation. You know, a senior advocate of like 20 years standing now, you want him to go to High Court and not senior advocate by mouth. I'm talking of those that really understand the law. There are several of them that are so brilliant that even when they are appointed to Supreme Court, the judges will be happy justices will be happy that they have someone that can actually help them, you know, in the administration of justice. You know, because, you know, we are lawyers. Sometimes we gather to, you know, discuss, you know, cases brought to our firm by a client. And then we sit down with 4 or 5 lawyers. What will take some lawyers like 5-10 days to do, if you have lawyers that are smart, that can cite cases, you know, at the snap of fingers, you can conclude within 24 hours. So that is the same thing that will happen. So if, for example, there is a bench of, about justices, about 7 justices sitting in maybe Supreme Court, and then a lawyer appear before them and is talking about an issue of law, one of them can just say, you know what, my learned counsel, have you considered a case or so? He said, yeah. You know, you need that kind of erudition, you know, in the bench. And you can only get it, although there are many erudite justices, you know, no doubt, but there are so many people that will, you know, come to, you know, to the bench and make it, you know, you even love coming to court. And they are not pursuing money again. Most of them have made money, so they are just there to serve their nation. You know, most of them are doing very well in their respective rights. So they just go to the Supreme Court just to be good, just to, you know, write their name in gold before they die. There are many people that are looking for opportunity, you know, to do that and further strengthen our judiciary. Because at the heart of everything that's happening in this country is the judiciary.